And welcome back to our video on demand page at WMMBAM.com. Today we're talking with Democratic County Commission 3 candidate Joe Pishgar. Joe, thanks for taking the time after the show to join us on the video section here.
Absolutely. Fun to be here.
Let's talk about what you see are the major issues in this campaign as you take on a popular Trudy Infantini in this County Commission District 3 seat.
Well, I would say she's popular amongst a very narrow band of folks on the political right. But the major issues of the campaign, for me, are jobs, responsibly funding essential county services, and holding the line on lower taxes. It's those three elements which have to go hand in hand. Bringing jobs to Brevard, aggressively reaching out to high-tech businesses who are looking to relocate and expand and get them to come to Brevard County, because we still have a very high unemployment rate here in Brevard County, and we have to make sure that we're doing our level best to ensure the economic survival and health of our county.
What's the proper county role in enticing folks to bring business here?
You know, a lot of times a handshake and a smile is all that it takes at the end of the day, an assurance that we're going to work with you, we're going to work with that business, with that company who wants to bring their firm or expand a customer service business here in Brevard. It takes a level of buy-in from the county commission to make sure that stuff happens. It's working with local municipal governments. It's working with the Economic Development Commission. It's working with these parties across party lines to make sure that it's getting done, to make sure that the businesses are being treated well. And my opponent has voted 7 times in the past year alone against extending tax relief to businesses in Brevard County, and I have those votes here. It's constitutes 1,865 individual jobs according to the EDC, and I don't know whether or not you support the EDC or its stated mission. That in and of itself, I don't know how someone can come out and say, I'm against extending a tax relief to certain businesses who want to come to Brevard, who want to relocate, who want to expand on the space.
Which takes me to my next question. Are you in favor of tax breaks for these businesses?
I am, as a matter of fact, and that's why I've been backed by the Space Coast Realtors. It's why I'm backed by business. It's why business is behind me. Infantini has thrown business under the bus so many times that you draw a hard ideological line in the sand on the county commission. It's a 4-1 vote. You have to work with the other commissioners, and I'm not talking go along to get along. I'm talking about working with Andy on roads. I'm talking about working with Chuck on Parks and Rec. I'm talking about working with Mary on environmental issues. I'm talking about working with other commissioners to make sure that what gets done for Brevard gets done for all of Brevard, District 3, and the rest of Brevard County, because it's sink or swim. All of us are in this together.
Let me take you back to the EDC.
Sure.
You seem to be a big fan of what they're doing.
Right.
We have at times handed out dollars in advance of companies coming to town.
I do not support the blanket lump sum. I support extending a tax abatement, which is the ad valorem tax abatement. And I also support keeping that to metrics and milestones. So, if you're not creating the amount of jobs that you said you would, you will not get the following year's tax abatement. And we've been very good. The county commission has been very decent holding companies to that standard as of late. But we are competing with Alabama. We are competing with Virginia. Virginia offered Harris $60 million just to relocate to Virginia. We don't have that kind of money, so we have to work very closely. We have to work hand in hand with company leaders, with businesses in Brevard, to make sure that they're sticking around when they're offered a big pot of money just to relocate to other climates. So we have to make sure that we're dealing with that. And a lot gets said about the EDC, but I think it's unfair to characterize the EDC as a government organization making the outreach, doing the job. It is half funded by private investors. Most of its funding, as a matter of fact, comes from the private businesses, and the other portion is from the county. And we spend less than 1% of our county budget on economic development. I think that's absurd.
Do you know what the director of the EDC makes?
Not off the top of my head.
With it being partly county funded, should you?
I'm sure it's in the triple digits, but I know Linda Weatherman has been there for forever, and I know she is. I know we're lucky to have her.
Question is, should we know what she makes?
It's because it's privately funded. It's a joint venture.
It's partly privately funded, and there are county dollars going to this.
Right.
Should we know what she makes?
I suppose so. Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to get the answer.
I'd be curious.
There's been some secrecy going on from the EDC side, and that makes me suspicious.
For me, it's not imperative to know what she makes, only that she's doing the job that we're paying for. And if the results indicate that the job is being done, then I'm happy. You pay for what you get. And Linda's been there a long, long time, and I think she's done a tremendous job in conjunction with CRAs and with county services being kept at the levels that they've been kept to keep Brevard from slipping into a recession, which could have been much, much deeper than it actually turned out being. We had the shuttle program shut down here, and it did not turn into a ghost town. I know parts of Titusville suffered heavily. Parts of Port St. John suffered tremendously, but we're still operating here. We're still working through it. So I think it speaks volumes to the business community of Brevard and to the buy-in we have had with the EDC and with county government that we are where we're at, and we're able to come back, and we're seeing the positive results of that, and we are seeing an uptick, a slight uptick in what's been going on in Brevard. So I'm
EDC
hopeful.
Has at least a partial history of coming to the county commission saying, we want you to offer this tax abatement.
Yes.
Wait. Yeah. We're not going to tell you what the business is, what kind of business it is, or exactly where it's going to locate, but we want you to sign off on this.
Well, let me explain.
Let me get the question out before you answer it. As a county commissioner, if you were elected, would you demand to know the type of business, type of location, and that type of thing before you would vote yes on such an abatement?
I would very much like to know as many of the details as I could possibly get a hold of, but my line of work, I deal with non-disclosure agreements, and non-disclosure agreements, which are like confidentiality agreements, are put in place to protect the company that is looking to either relocate or expand.
Sure, understand.
And if we get into a bidding war with Virginia or Alabama, with the money that they have in their kitty, in their pool, to bring economic development to their states, we will oftentimes lose. So if there's a confidentiality breach, then we can get into a lot of trouble, and we can lose the companies that would otherwise come here. But I think it's a matter of, and this goes back to the management style that we discussed before, it's a matter of finding the people who we trust, who are capable and qualified to do the job, putting them into positions of responsibility, and then saying, do your job. And if you don't, we'll hear about it.
But you're asking my elected
it.
official for tax dollars. I want that official to know what the business is, what the job is. So you're saying you don't necessarily need to know that.
I'm saying I would very much like to know, but I do understand the nature of confidentiality agreements.
Can't we sign the county commission to the same agreement, though? Can't those commission members sign off to the same agreement?
I'm sure we can, but there's been a contentious element between business, between the EDC, and between certain folks on the county commission. I think you know who I'm talking about there. That if they know about it, it's not a matter of it's just going to be that commissioner that knows, but it'll be that commissioner and the hundreds of people that commissioner wants to rile up against one particular business or corporation that's looking to relocate and expand to Brevard. I think it's a very troubling thing to have the economic development politicized as much as it has been by my opponent and the folks, the handful of people who support her. I think it's very disingenuous and very detrimental to District 3, and District 3 has actually suffered under her tenure as county commissioner. We did not get the money for roads that we needed. We didn't get any infrastructure funding from the stimulus, which, supported or not, it's money that we could be spending to improve our lives and our services in Brevard County. If you say no, the other 4 districts got it. So you have to look out for your citizens and your constituents, and you have to represent everybody.
Speaking of that, what do you want to see accomplished in District 3 specifically?
I would like to see the millage rate reduced by 1 to 2 points. I want to see our tax impact reduced on property owners. I want to see our unemployment go down by, my idea. I don't want to make any promises here, but I want to see it go down by at least a point, hopefully 2. I want to see some of our roads projects that have been neglected over a period of time get taken care of.
You have specific projects in District 3 you have in mind?
Babcock, right here. Babcock has been a pretty rough road. There's a jobs program that I'd like to see instituted. Specifically with regards to economic development, like I mentioned, they have a pool of money in Virginia and in Alabama to reach out to jobs and say, we'll put X amount of dollars on the table to make sure that you can come here, and we'll make sure that your sewer is paid for. We'll make sure that your if there are any impact fees that need to be taken care of, that those are off the table. So we can smooth the transition of these new companies, these new businesses to Brevard County. I'd also like to see, there's a tendency in economic development and in other areas of government where they will treat new businesses that aren't here like your cell phone company might treat you, which is to say, if you've been with us for decades, whatever. But if you're a new customer, oh boy, have we got a deal
Look at
for
the
you?
perks we have.
Yeah. So,
and you do hear local businesses complain about.
Well, I'd like to see something along the lines of legacy incentives. This company has been here for 30 years and it's produced X amount of jobs. We can recognize them somehow, or we can do something to make business easier on that person, on that company, because we have to look out for jobs in Brevard County. It's all about jobs, and it's part and parcel to the approach difference between myself and Trudy is I'm the only one talking about jobs. She talks about being a watchdog on the county commission, coming out against taxes every opportunity. Like I said during the show, hasn't voted once to reduce our taxes. At the end of the day, you have to work with the other county commissioners to get the taxes lowered. You have to get you have to have the homework done. You have to get the political slate finished and ready to go before you go up there and you say, I think we should vote. I think we should reduce mosquito control by X amount of dollars. Okay, well, name specifics, site specifics, or we're going to move on. We'll leave that to the staff. If you have no specific cuts, you can't reduce the tax rate. You can't. They can only work with what you give them, and bulk majority of what the county staff does right now, I would say, just from what I hear, 25 to 50% of what they do right now is based on what Trudy recommends that doesn't have no specifics on them.
All right, Joe Pishgar, if folks want more information about you, your campaign, what's the best way for them to get it?
They can get it on my website at pishforcommish.com. You can email me at joe@joepishgar.com, or send me an email or hit me up on Facebook. I'm pretty tough to miss on the internet.
Very good. Joe Pishgar, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks
to you folks for joining us
me.
on the video on demand page here at WMMBAM.com. More coming soon.